Hello and welcome back everybody to your fourth and final session of Train the Trainer on behalf of Looking Glass Education. I am so amazed and thrilled that you've stuck with this process for 4 videos that have all been fairly chunky, because your engagement with this, your willingness and want to not only educate the world in Bitcoin, but be willing to skill yourself up to do that effectively, speaks volumes about your character, about who you are, and how effective you're actually going to be, simply because of the willingness and the want to explore and consider different ideas around educating and training. So my hat off to you. I'm just enormously impressed with your ability to come along on this journey. This is a lot of content in some very condensed spaces of time. I'll often run like 2-day workshops on this stuff, and I'm really packing it in here. And for you to have kept up and stayed with the ideas is hugely impressive. And we're enormously grateful for it, because without your efforts in doing this, we are Bitcoin. We are Bitcoin. And if the keys are in our head, we are very literally Bitcoin. And we are the meme of Bitcoin. We are the idea of Bitcoin. And it's about us taking these ideas out to the world to achieve hyper-Bitcoinization. And thank you for your efforts in doing so. All right, let's move on to our fourth and final video. Mighty impressed as I am with your efforts so far. What have we done so far? We have, all right, we've looked at, go to full screen. Why isn't it going to full screen? We have looked at structuring our material, creating a story of logic that's easy to understand. We've moved on to talk about the content and how we make that engaging. That's actually the fourth step of the structuring process. Then we moved on to visual aids, leaving it till after we prepared the structure, because we want the visual aids to follow the message and the structure, not the other way around. And we also want to make sure with that we are being the presenter and being the presence in the room. Again, not the other way around. We're not there to support the visuals. The visual aids are there to support us. This session is about delivery, and this is a very difficult thing to talk about theoretically. So it's likely to be the shortest of the 4, because this is the piece that if I'm in a room training people, or if I'm online training people, this is about giving individuals feedback on what's working really well for them and finding other ways that might feel really comfortable for their personality to implement, and we'll explore and experiment. So these are going to have to be fairly generic comments. But I'm hoping that they give you the essence of what delivery is all about, more than enough to set you up for success going forward. So the objective of this session is, as we've talked about a few times along the way, the visual aids aren't going to build rapport. The content is not going to build rapport. There's no engagement just because of the content and the visual aids. Frankly, we could just send them the visual aids in a pack. But the reason we need to be there as well, if we stop to think about it for a moment, the reason we want to engage with the group is because, yes, we can answer questions, we can extrapolate, we can give explanations that the visual aids can't give in and of themselves. So there's all of that. There's a very practical aspect to us being there, but it's also about people want to connect with a human being and feel a sense of trust and likability, because without those elements, we don't want to engage with the material. A huge part of selling the message, you may not be comfortable with that wording, but ultimately we're influencing people simply by existing. We're influencing people by being in a room with people. Even if we don't open our mouths, we are influencing people. The moment we do open our mouths, we are influencing people even more. So let's do this with a little bit of just awareness of what we're saying in terms of our structure and content. how we're putting it together, potentially in terms of our visual aids, if this is a more put together session, whether it be live or online. And then let's be aware of how we are personally connecting with the group in a way that makes them feel comfortable and cared about. I know that sounds like a strange thing to say, particularly in the Bitcoin space where so many people are very technical in nature. And I don't mean this to sound woo-woo and wishy-washy, but to be honest, it's so easy. You know, we didn't know this stuff, you didn't know this stuff, and I'm behind you and I'm in front of other, like we're all at different stages of the journey. And some people are absolutely brand new. We're still very early in the adoption curve. So it's really vitally important that we are good representatives of what this thing is all about, and that we don't put people off at such an early stage. All right, so what we want to achieve by way of this session and our delivery is we want to make sure people broadly like us. They don't have to love us, but they like us enough to be willing to listen. They trust us because of our knowledge, but also because of who we are. So we've got a builder working here at the moment who I really trust in terms of his work. I'm not sure how much. I mean, he's new. We've used a different guy in the past, but he wasn't available for this. I don't know how much I trust him and therefore how much I want to use him in the future. So it's a genuine issue. We want to build rapport and connection so that they feel like they can approach us with their questions or if they want more information. And ultimately, we want to influence the way they feel about this topic, in this case, Bitcoin, which is not an easy topic for a lot of people. In order to do that, there are two areas we want to cover or we need to think about when it comes to our delivery. One is our intention going into this session, and the second is the delivery itself, obviously. So I'm going to talk about intention first. This does not get talked about enough. Our intention impacts. People feel our intention like a dog smells fear. What we don't want people to feel is judged in any way for not knowing enough about the subject already or not asking the right questions. They don't want to feel criticized. They don't want to feel diagnosed. They don't even want to feel evaluatively praised, which is where there's a sort of sense of condescension about, oh yes, well done, well picked up. So they don't want that kind of praise. They don't want to feel like we're coming up with a solution for them that they can't come up with themselves or that we're advising them. We need to approach them human being to human being, equal to equal, like we all do. We're not moralizing. This isn't a political stance. This is about something very practical for them and for their community. And it's not even about logical arguments when people are having an emotional response to this. It can be quite visceral. And if we come at them with logical answers to a visceral reaction, it can make them more concerned and upset because they need their emotions addressed, not their intellectual questions. So we have to bring it our whole person, the whole of us, all of our being to this conversation. To expand on this idea of intention, I've actually got a couple of direct quotes on here that come from a couple of different books. They're older books, they're still fabulous, and the quotes still absolutely hold up. One is Stephen Covey or Covey, I've never known entirely how to pronounce that. And the other one was a book called People Skills by Robert Bolton, et al. And the first one is this: if you want to interact with me if you want to interact effectively with me to influence me, your spouse, your child, your neighbor, your boss, your coworker, your friend, you first need to understand me. And you can't do that with technique alone. If I sense you're using some technique, I sense duplicity, manipulation. I wonder why you're doing it, what your motives are, and I don't feel safe enough to open myself up to you. So I say that because if we feel like I'm presenting, I'm teaching, I need to put on my presentation mask, my teacher mask, my serious, my professional, my newsreader face, it doesn't feel approachable. If I'm doing some sort of technique with my arms and my eye contact and my voice modulation, I'm sensing that you're trying too hard, or that you're just not being real with me. We've got a lot of expressions for this in Australia. Don't come the raw prawn with me. Yeah. True blue, dinky die, fair dinkum, all of them mean the same thing. But this goes for all over the world. Human beings want to be connected with as human beings. Let's flip over to the other quote, the Robert Bolton quote. Behavioral science researchers have found 3 key qualities that foster communication. Genuineness, which is about being honest and open about our own feelings, our own needs, our own ideas. I'm excited about this because, I'm concerned about this because. Don't overdo it, but include a little bit of that. So it's a stubborn refusal, I love this phrase, to let one's real self travel incognito. Non-possessive love. A lot of people feel uncomfortable with this phrase. Just think of it as acceptance, respecting and supporting other people in a non-paternalistic and freeing way that just allows them to be fully them, no matter who they are. Nothing is too silly. Nothing is too awkward or difficult to answer. You're there for them. And empathy, of course, is the ability to really see and hear another person and understand them from their perspective. Now, this has been highly studied. There's over 100 studies that show that if you're able to demonstrate in some capacity these qualities, therapists have better relationships with their clients. Importantly for us here, teachers have better student achievement. The more we accept, the more we intend to be there for them, not for ourselves, the better people are able to take on board our ideas and then implement them in their own lives, retain those ideas. Managers get greater motivation and less resistance from employees, and salespeople actually have more satisfied customers and increased sales volume. So do an intention check before you go into your training, before you go into your presentation. Get grounded in why you are there. And when you wrote your 1-sentence message at the beginning that had a call to action to them and a benefit for them, action plus benefit equals conclusion, just go back and check that. That's the reason you are there. You want them to do this, and this is genuinely the outcome, the benefit they will get from it. Remind yourself of that. That is your purpose in being there. All right, sorry. So really, the more you get clear on that intention and the outcome, the more you get clear on your intention, what I wanted to say there is that the outcome to large degree will look after itself. All right. In terms of delivery, we touched on this with the visual aid session last time, and what we talked about there was that when we are in a live session, we talked about blanking the screen so that we've got some presence in the room. We talked about moving and pointing to things on the screen, or having a second medium like a flip chart or a whiteboard and doing things live on that screen. We talked about in an online session sharing and stop sharing the screen like I'm doing right now, so that we've got this ability, particularly in Zoom, where I can now see people's faces a little bit more clearly when they're at tiny pixelated faces down the side, when I've still got the slides going. So this point of varying our presence, having some movement, but not doing it in a contrived way. So one of the things I often talk about is just plan that stuff in advance. I'm gonna go over to the whiteboard and go and do this thing now, or I'm going to have a blank PowerPoint and I'm going to put their feedback from the brainstorm into the PowerPoint as I go, and the blank PowerPoint is already planned into the pack. And this way I don't have to think about it. I just naturally either stop sharing the screen. I might even have a little note for myself, like an asterisk, to remind me to stop sharing the screen for a moment and tell a story. Or I might have a notation for myself to remind myself to go over to the whiteboard now. something that helps me so I don't think about it. So I'm not doing that in some contrived, manipulated fashion, but I'm doing it because it's just part of the flow of the presentation and part of the training. Yeah. So plan it. And that way you don't have to think about it too much. You don't want to be self-conscious on the day. You don't want to be thinking, I should move, I should do my hands, I should do my body. None of that. You want to be 100% yourself. But if you've got your room set up in a particular way, you'll get a little bit of movement going, a little bit more present. So you're not just stuck on the spot going, hello, I want to talk today about, and then we're just really rigid, and it's hard to get into a flow and be natural and be relaxed under those circumstances. Okay, so let's just go a little further into the delivery. Really, all I want to say here about the delivery is we want to bring in heartbeat moments now in terms of what we bring to the party. So we've had heartbeat moments with our content, with our indirect, direct, and highly direct audience involvement. We've got heartbeat moments with our visual aids because we've got pictures and bullet points and graphs and all sorts of funky things going on, sharing and stop sharing and blanking and whatever. We might give a bit of emphasis to our key takeout point. We might pause and vary our voice and go, look, really what we're saying about the problems with fiat is that corruption and inflation are inevitable. You might go on to talk about how Bitcoin can help and add a bit of movement, add a bit of variety, do a bit of stuff. Get excited about it, get serious about it. I used to use my planning sheet and just highlight in different colors. I used to have pink for passionate and blue for serious and yellow for animated and enthusiastic. And so it's not about, I've got to change my body language. It's about, I just want to remember that not to get into a like just reading sort of format, like robotic, just getting the information out there, just to really bring myself back to being human myself, getting excited when the material is excited, getting serious when the material is serious, emphatic when it's important. It's an important point. All right, so let's go through some don'ts and some do's of delivery. Very simply, we are not there to lecture. Don't think of yourself as presenting. It comes with a whole lot of preconceived ideas. When I think I've got to present, I feel like I've got to be either more flamboyant or I've got to be more serious in the name of being very professional. Professional equals serious. So we're not there to lecture. We're not there to present. We're not there to teach like I'm the greater person in the room and you are the lesser person in the room with the lesser knowledge. We're not there to read a script. We can have bullet points to guide us, but let's speak more fluently, more conversationally. We don't want to perform. We're not there to act. We're not there to, as I just said, be professional, be serious, blah, blah. Don't try to impress them. Don't use your longest words. Don't try to be clever. We are there to speak with them, to converse with them. Do be yourself. Talk with them, not at them. Engage with them, chat with them, converse with them, be warm with them, question them, ask them, have a laugh, be interested in them, be curious. What are they about? Have a little bit of fun with them, lighten it up at times, enjoy them, enjoy being there, be thrilled to be there and to have this opportunity to get to know other people and to support them and to guide them. Empathize with them, understand their concerns and doubt, show some warmth and care. So this is about bringing the whole human being, be real, be authentically interested and open, and they will reciprocate. All right. A very simple session. There's not a lot we can theorize with delivery. So much of it is if you've got the content organized and structured and varied and the visual aids, you can fall back on those, trust them. Trust the pre-work that you've done. Trust your preparation so you can get on with the business of just being yourself on the day. In terms of intention, be clear, get grounded on your intention, because the outcome to a large degree then will look after itself. As far as delivery goes, be real, be authentically interested and open, and they'll reciprocate. Bottom line is, be yourself, have fun, because when you're having when you're being real, others will engage at a more human level, and ultimately they'll be more open to you and your message, and they'll be more willing to take the action, the call to action that you've made in your conclusion at the end. They'll be more willing to do that. It's been an absolute delight being here with you for this journey. For more information about Bitcoin and finance and money, please go to the Looking Glass Education website. And meanwhile, I'll also put my personal details below. And please get in contact with me if you feel like you as an individual would like a little bit of personal help putting a presentation together or preparing for something big or a training session, or you would like your team trained up and supported and you'd like them individually coached, albeit in maybe a small group environment or one-on-one. However, you are absolutely magnificent. Thank you so much for coming along on this journey. Thank you so much for your efforts in orange pilling the world and educating others and being willing to take your skills to the next level. You are truly a legend. It's been a pleasure being your host for this journey. I'm Caroline Crawford. This is Looking Glass Education. Be well, happy travels, and God bless. All the very best. Take care for now. See you. Bye-bye.